Have you ever talked yourself into doing something? And once you start doing it, you're like, why am I doing this? Who even told me this was a good idea? Who didn't stop me from doing this? Well, I'm going to tell you about my little excursion I did a while back when I decided, and I'm laughing because my legs, not my knees only, but my legs are shaking just talking about this. But I decided to do a hike at one of the highest mountains near the area where I live at. I just wanted the challenge because apparently me going hiking to the Gassen Castle Ruins wasn't enough of a challenge. I had to go and do this challenge. So we're going to discuss this because it was actually pretty fun. So, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of My Solo Chronicles. Of course, this is April, and I want to so much tell you about this hike because I think if you're a person who likes to be outside and you enjoy hiking in like the most craziest of places, if you ever come to Japan, make sure you come and do this hike because I'm telling you, as I was doing going up all these stairs, it's like millions of stairs. Because apparently, the last hike I was telling you about that didn't have enough stairs that I was crying about. This one had a tremendous amount. You're going up, up, and up, and I mean up, up, and up. I felt like I was literally hiking off the planet Earth. So where I went is called Mount Daisen Summit. And I can tell you that usually when I'm driving to and from work, or if I'm out walking along the river path that's near me, I can definitely on a very clear day see this mountain. And this mountain is you can see it from a far distance. When most of us were coming into the area, because this is where our apartments are, you on the train, you could actually see this snow covered mountain. And everybody on the train was just like oohing and ahhing. And I'm like, wow, that looks like a great mountain. I didn't know at the time that you actually can hike it. So I decided after doing this last hike that I told you about in the last episode, I wanted to do another one, but give myself kind of like a gap in between me doing, both hikes. So I decided I'm gonna drive to Tottori, which is in Japan, and it's for me the drive from where I'm at to Mount Dyson. The parking area in Tottori was probably about almost an hour drive for me. And what I loved about this drive going there was that once you kind of come out of the neighborhoods, you know, along the highway where you're driving, you start to make your way through this wooded, very secluded, just driving trail. And it reminded me so much of being back in Michigan when I used to go to Hines Park because it was very woodsy. I felt like I was just out in the woods, just everything was just so quiet and so peaceful. The colors on the trees was just, it so reminded me of that. And I literally was taking it in and just the view was just absolutely beautiful. That's the only thing I can truly say. And it was so beautiful. I know you probably done heard this saying that certain people, when they're parking, which I'm one of them, you have to turn the radio down. Like that's going to help you see how you're parking. But yeah, but as I'm driving, because you're literally going up into the mountains, and I mean, you're going up. I. I don't know why I cut the radio down. I literally cut the radio down and it was complete silence. That's just how, sorry for the noise in the background. That's my air conditioner as well as the little kids outside playing. But, anyways, I cut my radio down because I just wanted to take all this in. And I mean, you're driving through these round corners and everything. It was just, and you see the mountain off in the distance, literally. You see this mountain and you're like, okay, I'm going to climb that. I'm going to climb that. Now, originally, I did mention that I wanted to do this to some of the people that I have met since I've been here. And there was maybe one or two people that kind of responded. It was like, yeah, if we're available, we'll definitely do it. But I wasn't waiting around. Of course, you know me. I'm not going to wait around for somebody to say either they're going to do it or they're not. So I said, hey, if you guys are interested, this is where I'm going to be at. This is where I'm parking. Let me know, whatever. Okay, didn't hear nothing back. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and do this. Let's get this on out the way. Let's see how far this hiking trail was. Now, my intention was not to go as high as I did. So just really quick, there's like this mountain, there is a higher point that you can hike to. Like you can hike to the very, very top of this mountain. But there is there's like the best way I can explain it, there's different peak levels. So you have the highest top of the mountain, that's the highest peak. And then you have the part where I was gonna attempt the listen, just remember what I just said, the point where I was going to attempt to get to. And that point is accessible through it's called Misen Park, and that's at 1,707 like miles up. And that's the highest peak because with that peak you can actually begin to see like the Sea of Japan and the Shimane Peninsula, which is where the little city that I'm in is part of Shimane, um, like prefecture. I would suggest if anyone decides to do this, make sure you bring a lot of snacks, plenty of water, and possibly a lunch. And the only reason why I say that, because it was just like I was doing my little research and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be good. I'm not going to go that high. It's just me, right? And I was told, if you want to really, really challenge yourself and do this hike, it's going to take 6 to 7 hours. Well, your girl ain't doing 6 to 7 hours. Not on that day, I wasn't. um, or you can go through the way of my sin. I hope I'm saying that right, but my sin peak, and it's a trail that goes along there, and because you're walking, you're gonna go past a temple that's also within that area as you're climbing up, to the second highest or the highest accessible point of Mount Dyson Summit. So I get there, and I love that once you park and you really walk around, you can definitely tell that everything is geared in that area to people that are coming to hike. You had a lot of, well, I'm not going to say a lot, but you had about, I think I counted three really nice shops that was so centered around people that are coming to hike, because not only are people coming to hike, Mount Dyson Summit, there's a hotel in the area as well. I believe it's two hotels in the area, and you have two temples that are right as you walk into the main street that's going to take you towards the beginning of one of the hiking trails. And you just walk around, and it was just nice. The day that I went, it was people there, but it wasn't like it was crowded, which is what I liked, because you can tell this is not a huge touristy area. You're going to get people there. Yeah, there were people that were there, but it wasn't like crowded where I was just like, oh, I don't think I want to do this because it's just too crowded. And there was one part where there's like a museum that's also right across from the hotel that is actually right in the center of the area that takes you towards the hiking trail. It was closed. No surprise there because it wasn't a lot of people. But then there was like a temple that was there, and as you're going up the steep steps of the temple, there were stairs everywhere. Let's just say that. There was, again, you can see the mountain like right there. I could see exactly where Mount Dyson Summit was. And I'm like, I'm about to hike you. So you get ready. I should have said, April, you're about to hike that. You need to make sure you're ready. But once you go up these steep stairs, there was one temple, and then you go up a whole bunch of other stairs, and there was another temple that was closed. But it was more of like a historical thing, I guess. I'm not for sure. So I head back down and I decide I'm gonna start doing my hike. And you walk across this brook that you see waterfalls. And you can definitely tell that you was getting very close to where the hiking trail that I was gonna take was close because you felt the coolness just coming in. And it was so interesting because as I was walking, I'm seeing like little patches of snow. And I says, "Oh, wow, that's I don't know if that's a good sign or not because I'm not dressed to see snow." And because all I wore was like, some track pants, of course, my running shoes. I know a lot of people gonna be like, you shouldn't be wearing running shoes. You should be wearing hiking shoes. Okay, you do you, I do me, whatever. Because like I said, I wasn't intending to do this like really 6 to 7 hour hike. I was just exercise, getting a little hiking. So I'm walking, and as I go to start, you know, going up these stairs, which actually scared me. If you thought I was rethinking my life choices in the last episode, this one had me really rethinking my life choices. But you know what? One of the people that I was telling them I was about to do this actually called me and was like, "Hey, I'm here. Are you here?" And I'm like, "Girl, yes, I'm almost about to start this hike." And she goes, "Do not go yet because I'm coming. I'm gonna Google Map and I'm coming." And I'm like, "Okay, great." I was so thankful for that because I was saying to myself, "If I'm gonna embarrass myself, I'm glad I'm gonna embarrass myself with somebody else." And once she got there, it took like from the parking lot to where I was at, it took her maybe about 5 to 10 minutes. So that gave me enough time to really think, do I want to do this? So she gets there, we start up and we start hiking. I brung my hiking sticks, and I'm so glad that I really invested in hiking sticks because when I almost slipped and fell back in California when I was at Topanga State Park and almost bust my ass. Yes, I did almost, literally. My life flashed before me. I said, no, I'm never going to do another hike without my hiking sticks. So I brought my hiking sticks. Now, my friend, on the other hand, she had nothing. She was like, who needs hiking sticks? We out here having fun. We're getting exercise. We're about to do this. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. So the higher we kept going. So she said to me, this is going to be so much fun. I'm surprised nobody else wanted to do this with us. Okay, fast forward an hour later. She was like, now she's saying this sarcastically, but and I'm trying to hold my laugh in because it's like, I don't want to laugh because that's going to take even more air out of me. She says, I don't understand why no one wanted to do this. And I'm like, I can't believe nobody wanted to do this either. So as we're so high up at this point, we were probably, I want to say we were like a mile and a half in because we were tracking how far we were going by miles, not like by hours. We knew we had been walking up like more than an hour, but we was tracking by how many miles we were actually kicking in. And as we're halfway up, she gets a phone call. I get a text message from another person who was like, "Hey, are you guys still talking about doing that hike? I'm interested in doing it." As my friend is talking to the other person, I'm texting that person and saying, "Yo, you know what? Please come and get me." Because we're literally high up. We were so high up at this point. Because as we're communicating with the other person. We're steady going up and we're going up. I says, we're so high up, we literally could slightly see the Sea of Japan. No joke. It got to the point where things started getting a little narrow. We passed a temple that was hella up the hill. I mean, really up this mountain. It was so deep in this mountain. I was like, back in the day, I cannot believe like monks would actually hike these steep steps to come up here to worship at this temple that's deep in the mountains. There's no way. So we took that in. It's actually closed down. It you, People were still walking past. It's still sacred, but you can still go there and you can still feel just the energy that's around in that little area where this temple was at, and it was all made of wood. I said, "Oh my gosh!" But it was so beautiful though. So we're steady hiking up, and and so the other person that decided, okay, I'm gonna do this with you guys. She says, "Well, I'm almost there. I'm gonna hike up." No joke. My friend that I'm with, she says, "Well, if let us know when you're literally coming up to the walking, the hiking trail, and we'll come back down and we'll all hike up." And I looked at her like, "Are you effing kidding me? I'm not doing this again. It's just y'all can do this. I'm not doing this." Because by this time, my legs started to shake and I could feel it because we had been going up and up and up. But then there were people that we passed on our way up that had passed us that were now back on their way down. So there's no way they went to the highest peak because they were coming back a little too quick. They probably was saying to themselves as well, "Yeah, you know what? I've been doing this for about like 2, 3 hours. I'm good." So it got to a point where we ended up getting to this one part of the mountain where we turned around and you could just see nothing but, I thought it was the sky, but it was actually, like I said, the Sea of Japan. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And we're not even at the highest peak yet. So we crossed this very narrow, I mean, and it was narrow, only one or two people could go across at a time. It wasn't like everybody could cross this little tiny bridge at the same time. There was no way. So you had to either cross first, and if somebody was coming, they would have to let you go past, or vice versa. So, anyways, we kept going. We kept stopping for water break. Well, I kept stopping for water breaks. And it got to a point where I said, I can't go any further. How many miles have we done so far? Are we almost there? We literally kicked it in at 3 miles. That's when I stopped. I was like, I'm done. I can't. We will be out here until midnight trying to not only get to the highest peak that we were talking about, but then trying to get back down, because you got to take into consideration too. It's like you're going up and it's taking you so many hours. It's going to take you so many hours to get back down. And we really didn't want to be in the area when it gets dark. Um, Not saying that I'm, a bad driver at night, but when it comes to being in a country where you're driving on the other side, you're not too familiar with the area. I didn't want to risk it. So, but the other individual did end up coming, but we had already descended back down. We were already back down. We was waiting on her, and it was just like, yeah, we can't wait. But my friend did go up a little bit. She went up a little bit more higher than me, so she most likely did a little over 3 miles. I stayed. I topped off at 3 miles, and I literally sat on a piece of rock. It was just like, I will wait for you until you come back. And once we made our way down, she says, "My ankles are killing me." I said, "But yeah, but we was gonna go to the top." I couldn't, like I said, thank goodness for my hiking sticks, because if I didn't have my hiking sticks, I would have rolled all the way back down to the very bottom, because my legs at this point, if I thought they were shaking when I went and did my hike at the Gassen Castle Ruins, this was no joke. And I just was, I could not go any further, and I felt it. My body was saying you can't continue to go any further, and I listened to my body and I said I'm not going any further. So we made our way all the way back down. Um, Unfortunately, we missed the other person. She ended up, we missed her by maybe 2 minutes because we were sitting in a restaurant and it was so adorable. I said it was a temple and that we shouldn't intrude. My friend was like, she says, "No, this is a place where we can go and grab food." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" And she's like, "Yeah." Well, come to find out, when you walk in, you could actually buy items there, regardless to what you're looking for. I was gonna buy another hat, but I was just like, I got enough hats. I'm not gonna buy a hat. But this restaurant used to be a temple. The people, the husband and wife that own it, they converted the temple into a restaurant and the food was banging. Either that or I was just hungry. But anyways, so the other person that was supposed to come and meet us, she ended up doing the hike a little. She said after maybe like 30 minutes, and she didn't hear my mouth and didn't hear, well, okay, me and my friend were both loud, but she said when she didn't hear my mouth or hear my other friend, like didn't hear her screaming, she says there's no way they're still hiking because I don't hear them. So she made her way back down. I say all of that. Now, mind you, I done just told you all of this. Well, guess what I'm about to attempt to do next weekend? Lord's will, we're going to do this. I'm going to do Mount Daisen Summit again, this time more prepared and more ready to take on that challenge. And I think back to like when I start to do things, and I'm like, why am I doing this? If I enjoy it, I'm going to continue to do it. Everybody knows what WhatsApp is. Well, apparently, I didn't know about this until I moved here. They have this other app that's called Line, and it's exactly like WhatsApp. It's just for over here in Asian countries or whatever. And I ended up becoming part of this group where we're doing this challenge for the month of May before it gets extremely hot in Japan, where we're doing fitness, whether it's working out, not, well, of course you're going to work out, but whether it's running, walking, yoga, whatever, we're just doing a challenge for 30 days, 31 days for the month of May. And I thought I'm going to do Mount Daisen Summit again because I want to challenge myself to see if I can really get to the highest peak. So me and my friend have already talked about it. We're going to try to get some more people in and we're going to do it. And that's that. So yeah. So apparently the hike that I did at Gassen Castle Ruins it was challenging, but it wasn't challenging enough. But Mount Daisen Summit, oh, that challenged me. So every time I'm driving to and from work, or if I'm walking to the grocery store and I see Mount Daisen in the distance, I can say I hiked you once and I'm going to attempt to hike you twice. So, yes, that is my story for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, my moonbeams, have a great rest of the day and get out and enjoy this nice weather. Talk to you in the next episode. Bye.